"Hey, watch it, old man. Now look what you have done. You got coffee everywhere, all over my clean floor." The sharp, angry voice cut through the morning quiet of the Coffee Bloom Cafe. Arthur Jenkins, a man of 75 years, flinched, not from the words, though they were unkind, but because his hand, already a little unsteady, had indeed been bumped. The hot coffee he had just paid for sloshed over the rim of the paper cup, splashing onto the polished tiles and a little onto his worn tweed trousers. He looked down at the spreading brown puddle, then up at the young barista whose name tag read Leo. Leo stood with his arms crossed, a sneer on his face, tapping his foot impatiently. Arthur was a quiet man. He did not like trouble. He had seen enough trouble in his younger days to last several lifetimes. Now, he preferred peace. He came to this coffee shop, a little out of his way, because they usually made a good strong brew, just the way he liked it, a small treat on a chilly morning. He wore a simple, clean coat, a little faded but well kept. On his lapel, almost hidden, was a tiny pin, a symbol of service few would recognize today. His hair was white and neatly combed. He leaned lightly on a dark wooden cane, more for balance than for need, but it made him look older, perhaps frailer than he was. Inside, though, Arthur was not frail. He had faced down dangers that would make young Leo's hair stand on end. He had led men, made hard choices, and lived with the results. But he never boasted. He never spoke of it. That was the past. This was now, and now he just wanted a cup of coffee. "I do believe," Arthur said, his voice soft but clear, "that you bumped into my arm, young man." Leo's sneer widened. "Oh, really? So it is my fault now, is it? You old folks are all the same, clumsy, and then blaming everyone else. You probably cannot even hold a cup straight anymore." A few other customers in the shop turned to look. Some looked curious, some embarrassed. No one spoke up. Arthur felt a flush rise up his neck. It was not anger, not yet. It was a familiar sadness, a weariness. Why did people have to be so unkind? What was gained by such rudeness? "I just got this coffee," Arthur said, trying to keep his tone even. "Perhaps you could just help me clean it up, and maybe I could get another." Leo laughed, a short, barking sound. "Help you clean it? I am not your servant. And get another? You will pay for another if you want one. And pay for the first one you spilled too, for the mess." "I already paid for this one," Arthur stated calmly, holding up his receipt. "And you spilled it?" Leo snapped back. He leaned over the counter, his face close to Arthur's. "Maybe if you were not so shaky and slow, this would not happen. This is a busy place. We do not have time for people like you dawdling around and making messes." He gestured towards Arthur's cane. "Need that to stand, do you?" The insult hung in the air. People like you, shaky and slow. If you believe our elders deserve respect, not scorn, type respect below. Arthur looked at the young man. He saw ignorance there, and a strange kind of mean pleasure in trying to make someone feel small. He could argue, he could raise his voice, he could demand to see the manager. Part of him, the old soldier part, wanted to stand very straight and tell Leo a thing or two about respect and service. But he was tired, so very tired of pointless fights. He could just walk away, forget the coffee, go home. It was just a small thing after all, a spilled drink, harsh words. He had endured far worse. But then he thought of others, other old men and women, other veterans who might not have the strength to speak up, or who might take such words to heart and feel truly diminished. No, this was not just about him. It was about a simple thing called decency. He remembered his son, Mark, Captain Mark Jenkins, a fine officer, a good son. Mark had told him many times, his voice firm but loving, "Dad, if anyone, anywhere, gives you any trouble or shows you disrespect because they think you are old or an easy target, you call me. Promise me, Dad, you do not have to fight every battle alone anymore." Arthur had always waved it off. "I am fine, son, I can handle myself." But today, looking at Leo's smug face, Arthur felt a different kind of resolve, not for himself, but for the principal. He reached into his coat pocket and slowly pulled out an old, slightly battered mobile phone. It was not one of those new fancy ones, it just made calls. Leo watched him, a smirk playing on his lips. "What is this? Gonna call for backup, Grandpa? Gonna call your nurse to come change you?" Arthur ignored him. His fingers, a little stiff with age, carefully pressed the saved numbers. He put the phone to his ear. "Mark," he said quietly, his back straighter now, "it is Dad." Pause." "Yes, I am all right, son. Just a small bother at the Coffee Bloom downtown. Yes, that one." He listened for a moment. No, nothing for you to worry too much about. But, well, you did say to call." Another pause. Then Arthur's voice firmed. "Yes, I think perhaps your presence might be helpful, if you are not too busy." He listened again, a small, almost invisible smile touching his lips. "All right, son. Thank you. I will wait." He ended the call and put the phone back in his pocket. He stood there patiently by the counter near the spilled coffee that no one had yet offered to clean. Leo just stared at him, then shrugged and turned to serve the next customer, muttering something about crazy old coots. The air in the coffee shop seemed thick with unspoken things. Some customers looked away, pretending to be busy with their phones or newspapers. Others watched Arthur with a mixture of pity and curiosity. What would happen now? Who had he called? Arthur just waited. He knew his son. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Leo was starting to look smug again, probably thinking the old man's call was a bluff. Then, the bell above the coffee shop door jingled sharply, much louder than before. Everyone looked up. Framed in the doorway stood a man. He was tall, very tall, and broad-shouldered. He wore the crisp, perfectly pressed service uniform of a United States Army captain. His boots shone like dark mirrors. On his chest were rows of ribbons that spoke of places and deeds Leo the barista could not even imagine. His face was serious, his eyes sharp and focused. This was Captain Mark Jenkins. He scanned the shop quickly, his gaze landing on his father. A flicker of concern crossed his face before it settled back into a look of calm authority. He strode forward, his footsteps echoing a little too loudly in the suddenly silent cafe. Leo, who had been wiping down the counter with a flourish, froze mid-wipe. His mouth fell open. The color drained from his face, leaving it a pasty white. He looked from the captain to Arthur, then back to the captain. The smirk was gone, completely gone. Can I help you, sir?" Leo stammered, his voice suddenly small and shaky. He even tried a wobbly smile. Captain Jenkins did not look at Leo yet. He went straight to his father. "Dad," he said, his voice deep and warm, all trace of military sternness gone for a moment. "Are you all right? What happened here?" Arthur gave a small nod. "I am fine, Mark. Just a little misunderstanding about some spilled coffee." He gestured to the floor. Captain Jenkins looked at the mess. Then he turned his gaze, slowly, deliberately, to Leo. "You are Leo?" he asked. His voice was quiet, but it carried an undeniable weight. Every person in the shop leaned in, trying to hear. Leo swallowed hard. "Yes, sir. That is me, sir." He was practically saluting with his cleaning rag. "My father tells me," Captain Jenkins continued, his eyes never leaving Leo's, "that there was an issue with his coffee. He said it was spilled, and that you were unhelpful and rude." Just then, a harried-looking man in an apron, clearly the manager, rushed out from the back office. "Is there a problem here? I heard raised voices earlier, and now, Captain." He saw the uniform, the rank, the serious mood, and his eyes widened in alarm. "Manager," Captain Jenkins acknowledged him with a slight nod. "My father, Mr. Arthur Jenkins here," he placed a hand gently on Arthur's shoulder, "was just trying to enjoy a cup of coffee. It appears it was knocked from his hand, and then he was blamed for it and spoken to with considerable disrespect by your employee, Leo." The manager looked horrified. He looked at Arthur, then at Leo, then at the spilled coffee still on the floor. "Mr. Jenkins," the manager said, rushing forward, his face full of concern. "I am so terribly sorry. Please accept my deepest apologies. This is not how we operate. This is not the standard of Coffee Bloom." He turned to Leo, his face now flushed with anger. "Leo, what is the meaning of this? This gentleman is a customer, an elderly customer. Did you speak rudely to him? Did you refuse to help him?" Leo started to babble. "But he was so slow. And he did spill it. It was an accident. I just bumped him a tiny bit, but he made it worse. He is old. He probably did not even realize." "Enough," the manager snapped. Captain Jenkins spoke again, his voice still calm but cutting through Leo's excuses. "My father, Mr. Arthur Jenkins," he said, his voice gaining a new level of intensity, "served this country for 35 years. He fought in wars so that young men like you could have the freedom to stand here and be rude in a coffee shop, apparently. He has earned more respect in one day of his life than you have shown in this entire encounter." The manager looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him. He looked at Arthur with newfound awe and deep shame. 35 years, sir. I had no idea. There are no words for how sorry I am." He turned back to Leo, his eyes blazing. "Leo, your behavior is disgusting. It is an embarrassment to this establishment and to common decency. Pack your things. You are fired. Effective immediately." Leo's jaw dropped. "Fired? But it was just a coffee. He is just some old guy." "He is a veteran who deserves our utmost respect," the manager thundered. "And you have shown none. Get out. If you have ever been misjudged, or seen someone else misjudged, and felt that surge of anger at unfairness, type no more below." Leo, finally realizing the enormity of his mistake and the power he had so foolishly challenged, shrunk. He mumbled something, then turned and scurried towards the staff room, his bravado gone like air from a popped balloon. The manager turned back to Arthur and Captain Jenkins. "Sirs, please. Let me get you a fresh coffee, anything you like from the menu, on the house, of course. And please allow me to clean this up immediately." He grabbed a mop and bucket himself and began to clean the spilled coffee, apologizing again and again. "Thank you," Arthur said quietly. "A black coffee would be lovely." The manager insisted they take a comfortable seat by the window. He brought Arthur his coffee, a large pastry, and another coffee for Captain Jenkins. He then addressed the remaining staff and the few customers who had witnessed the whole thing. "Let this be a lesson to all of us," the manager announced, his voice ringing with sincerity. "We will be implementing new, mandatory sensitivity and respect training for all employees, with a special focus on how we serve our seniors and our veterans. This kind of incident will never happen here again. I give you my word." Several customers came over to Arthur's table. One woman said, "Thank you for your service, sir. I am sorry you were treated that way." An older gentleman shook his hand. "Well handled, Captain," he said to Mark. Arthur sipped his coffee. It was good, warm. He looked at his son, who was watching him with quiet pride. "It was not really about the coffee, Mark," Arthur said softly, after the manager had bustled away, still mortified. "I know, Dad," Mark replied, smiling gently. "I know." They sat for a while, father and son, enjoying their coffee and the unexpected turn of events. The atmosphere in the coffee bloom had changed. It was quieter, more thoughtful. As they left, the manager rushed to the door to hold it open for them, thanking them again for their patience and understanding. Walking out into the bright morning, Arthur felt a lightness he had not expected. It was not just about getting an apology or seeing Leo face the consequences. It was knowing that sometimes, when you stand up quietly for what is right, help arrives. And sometimes, people do learn. The story of the old veteran and the rude barista, and the son who arrived in uniform, became a small legend in that neighborhood. The coffee bloom did implement new training. They even put up a small sign. "We proudly offer a 10% discount to veterans and seniors. Thank you for your service and wisdom." Arthur Jenkins continued his quiet life. He did not seek recognition. He did not boast about what happened, but he knew that a small moment of standing firm had rippled outwards. He was just an old soldier, a hidden hero to most, but on that day, his quiet strength, and the love of his son, had reminded a few people about the importance of respect. What do you think is the biggest lesson from this story? Is it about respecting elders, honoring veterans, or perhaps it is about not judging people by how they look? Think about the quiet heroes in your own life. They may not wear uniforms anymore, or ever, but they carry their service and their dignity within them. They deserve to be seen, and they deserve to be honored.